Hope is alive, and Hope is alive. The program that goes through tragedies, setbacks, disappointments, and adversities that some of us have to go through. Our show also will inspire you and give you hope. I am Eve Moffat, and this is my co-host, Kate Gibbs.
Good morning.
And today on our show, we have a lady who's gone through multiple sclerosis, MS. Her name is Joannie Gertzen. Hi, Joannie.
Hi, Eve.
And it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, you've gone through this for how many years?
About 20 years now.
20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I met you at the start.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
What were your symptoms before moving to this area?
My general symptoms were like many MSers. I had numbness in my hands and feet, and I had what is called chronic fatigue. I had an off switch, an energy off switch.
Tell me about that an off switch.
Well, when I hit a certain point in my energy level, it's like somebody turns a light off, and all of a sudden I don't have any more energy. I have to lie down. I have to sit down. I have to not do anything for however long it takes me to recover from that particular situation. In the early days, that was more pronounced.
Did it come on suddenly? Were you aware it was coming? Could you
Oh,
prepare
yes.
yourself?
Oh, yes, I could feel it coming on.
Oh.
But it was an immediate thing. When somebody turned the energy light off, it was off, and I was dead in the water. And unfortunately, that was a time in my life when I had to do most of my work late in the day, and so it made it difficult to continue to work.
Now you said numbness in your. What do you mean by numbness?
Well, it's the feeling of not being able to feel your fingertips, not being able to feel whether you've got a cup on the table or off of it. It's the feeling of not being able to hang on to something. You drop things very easily.
Was this accompanied by any like head pain, headaches, or anything else?
What happens is MS is a demyelinating disease. So if you picture a lamp cord, from the lamp to the socket, you have the wiring that goes through, the electrical wiring that goes through the middle, and you have a coating around the outside of plastic or rubber.
Okay.
In MS, that coating is eaten away by your white blood cells, by your body. So you get shorts in that line, in that electrical line. So in my case, as an example, my left leg was more affected than my right. And if you picture electricity or a lightning striking a telephone wire.
Okay.
You know how it goes along and it jumps and it turns blue in spots? Have you ever seen that
No, I
happen?
haven't.
Okay. Well, that's what it feels like. Like there's spots along the nerves that fire and spark.
Is it painful?
Oh yes,
Okay.
it's very painful.
So you're
and
like this
yeah,
as it
yeah.
travels along?
Oh yes, yeah. You go oh yeah. It's not pretty.
Yeah. I remember you lived on Color Cove.
Yes.
And that came to me, Color Cove, and you had moved to Sedona, and you had seen me performing.
Right.
And it was like 2 years after that we actually officially became acquainted.
Yes.
And I remember this big, massive house. You had a mansion on Sedona, in Sedona, on Color Cove.
Uh-huh.
And I rented a room from you.
That's right.
And this was and that you kept your multiple sclerosis a secret.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I tried to hide it for as long as I could.
And how long was that?
Well, I probably had it for about 2 years before I came to Sedona. And I probably was able to hide it fairly effectively for a couple of years after I arrived, I would think.
Had you been diagnosed at that point?
No.
Okay, so you were just hiding these symptoms, not knowing exactly what was going wrong with you.
Right.
Must have been frightening.
It was terrifying.
I imagine.
It was absolutely terrifying.
Painful, terror,
Yes.
all of that.
Oh, all of that.
But
You have nerve pain, but you also have muscle pain because each one of those nerves runs a muscle. And so those muscles go into spasms or knots. Yeah, it's...
What finally drove you to get help, medical?
Well, I was falling so badly and so often that I couldn't function. So at that point in time, I decided it was time to find out what was going on.
And you told me in a prior conversation that it's extensive, this testing, and expensive.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about the testing.
Well, the testing is, they do a bunch of nerve testing. So they run electrical currents down your nerves to see if they're functioning properly. They do a lot of MRIs, very expensive proposition. They, my goodness, I even have a sort of blockage about all of the various different things that you went through because it was horrendous. I was going from Sedona to Phoenix to Barrows, and it was an exhausting process.
Yes.
But after about 6 months, they finally did a spinal tap, and they found myelin in my spine.
Myelin was myelin.
Myelin is the coating around all your nerves.
Okay.
And like the rubber coating that we were talking about
Yes.
on the lamp. And when they found that in my spinal cord, they knew it was MS.
Okay.
There began treatment,
Yes. Yeah.
and which was?
Well, initially, like most MSers, they start by treating the symptoms because
To palliate pain and that sort
yes,
of thing?
yes, yeah, and so as each symptom appears, there's a new medication.
Okay.
And then eventually, after you're diagnosed, or at least after I was diagnosed, I was put on beta-serin, and beta-serin was a very new thing then. It involved giving myself an injection once a week, and some of the various different kinds are daily injections or weekly injections. In
You
my
do this
case.
yourself?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Was this working?
Well, you know what? I can't tell whether it was working or not because I don't know what it would have been without it.
I see.
I know that the various different medications that they gave me to treat each one of the new symptoms as they came along helped.
And was
Yeah.
was this a rapid process through these symptoms, or would it be 6 months, a new one, and another year, or?
In my case, and the one thing that's consistent about MSers is that they're not consistent. Everybody experiences the disease differently.
Oh, thank you for telling us
Yeah,
that. Yes.
the stages that you go through are different. How quickly the disease progresses in you is different. And a lot of it has to do with age. If you're a young person when you get it, in your teens, then it tends to be much more aggressive, and usually the patients die at a very young age.
May I ask what age at your onset?
I was in my 40s.
Oh, okay. That's a very vital time of your life
Yes.
to be challenged that way.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
What
Yes.
was your mental attitude when you were?
Well, I was blessed with a very strong, stubborn streak and a tremendous amount of determination. So I determined at a very early stage that this was not going to get me.
Yes, I remember you telling me about this doctor.
Yes.
Tell me about this doctor.
Oh, I had this doctor who came in, and at that point in time, I was in a wheelchair, and I wasn't functioning well at all. And he said, if you don't get out of this wheelchair in the next month or so, you'll never get out of it. And I said, how dare you say that to me? You don't know me. You don't know me from Adam. You know, you're looking at a bunch of test results. You know, I'm a person, and I don't want to be seen as just a bunch of statistics. And you're talking statistics to me. So I was not at all happy with that doctor. Needless to say, I never saw him again. But statistically, that is correct. Patients, the longer you stay in a wheelchair or the longer you're bedbound, the more likely you are not to be able to recover because your muscles atrophy, you know, all of those kinds of things.
Well, he lit your fire.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
He lit your
Definitely,
fire.
Yes, very definitely.
Because many people, if they were told that they would be in a wheelchair, they say, oh, well,
Yes.
I'm going to be in a wheelchair, and that's where they'll stay.
That's
Oh,
right.
pity me.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's where they'll be, in a wheelchair.
Right.
But you had the courage, and you had the fortitude, and the tenaciousness to get out of the wheelchair.
Well, I used to call it fortitude and tenaciousness and determination. My sister calls it stubborn.
That's family for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's more realistic about it than I was. You know?
With your immune system affected, what has this illness, what other illnesses have you experienced?
Well, obviously your immune system is compromised, so you are much more susceptible to just about anything that comes along. One of the things that I had to do as a process of my recovery was to consciously make an effort to build my immune system. And 20 years ago, biofeedback wasn't really that big a thing. Not a lot of people knew about it. I was very, very blessed. I had a Traeger massage therapist who basically taught me the technique.
Traeger, what does that mean?
Traeger is a form of massage therapy. Dr. Milton Traeger believed that that every cell in the body had a memory of what it was supposed to do.
Okay.
And that if you relaxed the body enough, that memory would come back and that cell would function the way it was supposed to. So unlike most forms of massage therapy, which try to force your body, your muscles, or your body into doing something, relaxing or whatever the goal is, Traeger is the opposite. It is all about relaxing the body, and in the process, Linda taught me how to talk to the nervous system and tried to get nerves that were undamaged to work instead of the damaged ones.
Okay.
So in that sense, it was like biofeedback.
Yes.
And it worked?
And it worked, yes. But I was very, very blessed. I mean, I was incredibly blessed. I would not be walking today without Linda Stratton.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I saw her once a week. I've seen her once a week for 20 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. You also went to Chinese medicine, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I went to some acupuncture.
Yes.
I went to Oriental types of herbs and trying to avoid a lot of chemicals. And for me, some of it was acupuncture, as an example, was extremely important, primarily in resolving pain. It was huge in being able to take away the pain.
I've experienced the same.
Yes.
I have to agree.
Yes.
Acupuncture is
Yes.
a fine approach.
Yes, it is. It's just wonderful. I had jammed my spine into my pelvis, and I was in excruciating pain. And thank goodness, Linda told me about an acupuncturist in Sedona, and about 3 months worth of treatment, and I was able to walk again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
all those kinds of things.
It's amazing, sometimes when you relax, Linda will come in, or acupuncture will come in, and that which is needed is sometimes supplied to you if you'll just let go and let it happen. It seems like you're very good at that.
Well, I have learned to be better at it. I
That
can't
stubborn
say-
thing again.
Yeah. I have learned to be better at it. I can't say I'm good at any of it
Yeah.
yet.
So
but-
are you approaching with your diet?
Well, a lot of people had success with diet. I chose not to go that route because food has been an important part of my life. I enjoy cooking, and I didn't want to give it up. So I stopped eating as much processed food
Good for you.
and things like that.
Yeah.
But I did not do the strenuous diet that a lot of people have found very, very beneficial. But I just chose not to go that way.
When were you sickest with your MS?
Well, I can't say when I was sickest. I have been very, very ill numerous times.
Yeah. This
Oh,
last, what was it, 6 months? 9 months ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when my husband died,
Yes.
I had been taking care of him 24/7. So I was very depleted, energy-wise.
Yes.
But as this show is all about, MS has brought me a great deal of hope in my life, too. A great deal of insight.
Yes.
I've had to work on it. I've had to work on myself. And so from that standpoint, I have to say it's been a blessing. It forced me to do things that I would not have done had I
Wow.
not gotten so ill.
Oh.
We all get on a busy track,
Yes,
and we forget the inner person.
yes.
Yes, so sometimes of us, very stubborn people are sometimes knocked down pretty hard, aren't they?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's amazing how many people, percentage-wise, who get MS are type A personalities.
Yes.
Very, very often.
Does this open the door to stroke and cerebral damage, or is that just a whole different ballgame?
I can't answer that. I know I have had a stroke
Oh.
subsequent to having MS.
You had more than one stroke.
Yes.
Yes.
I had a couple of TIAs and I had a stroke last year.
I see.
But I'm not sure that that had anything to do
Whether
with
it was
the
a
MS.
connection or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it seem like the stroke has impaired you? You walk, you're very verbal, you're very bright, you're very pretty. I mean,
Well,
it didn't
thank you.
bother you.
Again, it's something I've worked on.
I see.
When my husband died, I made the decision that I was not going to be crippled for the rest of my life. And I was not walking well. It took me 2 years to learn how to walk again, upright. I had been walking bent over, ready to fall. You know, I was a perfect Marine. I could duck and roll, you know. And so learning to carry my torso above my hips instead of being in a bent over position all the time took a lot of training.
So
A
you've
lot of work.
survived through therapy
Mhm.
and using what, a personal interfaith, stubbornness.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are a
Um,
survivor. It's just
Well, yes, and I think that to survive MS, like a lot of chronic degenerative diseases, you know, if you're not inherently a survivor, it will in fact, you know, get you.
Yeah.
And it can be extraordinarily debilitating.
I remember a period where you were falling a lot and you had lots of
Yes.
scars on you.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very difficult period in that started the recognition that I had to stop pretending that there wasn't anything wrong. It was extremely difficult for me, as an example. I think probably one of the most difficult things in the early stages was having to capitulate and use an electric cart in a grocery store.
Tell me about that.
Well, all of a sudden, everybody knew that there was something wrong, and I couldn't hide it anymore. But it had gotten to the point where I had fallen 3 times in a store
oh, in the store. Oh my.
and could not get up. And my energy had been turned off,
Yes.
and I was sitting on the floor in the aisle at Fry's, wondering if I was going to be able to get up eventually. So that was the impetus that said, okay, maybe you ought to try this. And to this day, if I have a long way to go in a store, I still use an electric cart. It saves energy.
Yeah.
Who's your support system?
I've been very, very fortunate. I've had some very, very good friends who have been there for me. My oldest and dearest friends are, she is a psychologist and he is a body worker. And so I spent, after my husband died, I spent better part of a summer in Colorado working with them. And that was when I started to learn to walk again. And learning to walk smoothly, learning to walk backwards. Learning to walk backwards was a tremendous challenge, you know, because the body doesn't do what it would do normally.
Yes.
You know, it's forgotten how.
Yes.
So the nerves aren't sending the right signals to the right muscles.
Okay.
So you have to learn to do it again, and you have to practice.
Have you family about?
I have a son in Scottsdale and a daughter in Chandler, and then my youngest son lives in Kansas City.
Yes.
So you do have family about that
Yes.
you can respond to.
Yes.
I know you're a gardener.
Yes, I am a gardener.
Yes.
Yes.
Very successful gardener.
Well, it is a form of meditation for me, and meditation was key for me in my recovery, learning
Yes.
to meditate.
And that goes along with the tracker, relaxing and...
Well,
that sort
it
of
goes
thing?
along with it, but it had to do with my own personal spirituality,
Oh.
and it had to do with what I believe my recovery was about, because I had an awful lot of things internally and emotionally and mentally and spiritually to work through, as well as the physical part of it.
Yeah.
And for me,
Yes.
that was more challenging
Yes.
to face me
Nah. Yes.
than to face the disease.
It is what it is.
Yes.
Yes. What advice would you have for someone who's been diagnosed with MS?
Don't buy into it. Don't allow yourself to become identified with the disease. Most MSers use the term, I'm an MSer. But that is not who I am. Those people who believe that that is who they are the ones who fall victim to the disease.
Oh my.
And I think that I was blessed with the stubbornness and the arrogance to say I'm not going to be that.
What have you learned from all of this?
That I have absolutely no control over anything in my life. That I can work very hard at whatever it is, but I don't have any control over the outcome.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
For an A personality.
Yes, yes.
Joanie, it's been a delight having you on the show.
Thank you.
This has been a good interview.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, good.
Indeed, indeed.
Indeed.
Very informative and hopeful.
Hopeful, yes.
Yes. There is hope.
There is hope.
Yes.
Well, this has been another episode of Hope is Alive, and Hope is Alive. Smile. Hope is Alive opens a door providing you with hope and inspiration that you too may overcome tragedies, adversities, and despair. Believe me, I know firsthand what it feels like not to have hope and to overcome it. Be sure to join us for the next edition of Hope is Alive. When you feel that you can't go on and all your hope is gone and life has gotten you down, sometimes it's hard to go on. Feels like chaos all around you, no peace of mind to be found. The dreams you dreamed are all over. Doubts and fears have gotten you bound. Feels like nowhere to run to, there's nowhere to hide. Don't let fear overtake you. It's time to decide that you'll never give up, never give up, never give up. Never give up, never give up, never give up. Never give up, never give up, never give up.